Okay, let's start our discussion on Islam. Islam was a new form of government that was based around this religion, right? So Islam literally means submission to God's will. And prior to the introduction of Islam, Arabs lived in separate loyal tribal groups and were often involved in overland and maritime trade. Most people practiced an animist type of religion that involved the worship of idols. Muhammad was born in 570 CE in Mecca, and he later married a merchant widow named Khadijah. Later, they traveled in caravans and met Jews, Zoroastrians, Christians, etc. When he was 40 years old, the angel Gabriel came to him and when he was sleeping in a cave and revealed that he had been selected to receive divine inspiration. The message that he had was that there was only one all-powerful and all-knowing God called Allah, and Muhammad had no supernatural powers, but he was to be God's messenger. He preached that all people were to submit to Allah and that everyone was equal in the eyes of Allah. All would face a final day of judgment, and those who submitted to God would go to heaven. Those who did not would go to hell. His message was not met with enthusiasm in Mecca, and he fled to Medina in 622, and this journey was known as the Hijrah. His message was quite popular in Medina, where he was viewed as a prophet and a political leader. In further organizing his new religion, he taught that he was the last of a long line of prophets from the Jewish and Christian scriptures that included Abraham, Moses, David, and Jesus. So he claimed to have been from that line of descendants. In 630, he and his followers returned to Mecca. They captured the city and they destroyed the idols. After his death, his revelations were written down by his followers in the Quran, and which is to believe the actual words of God as revealed to Muhammad. The word Islam literally means submission to God's will, again. So let's talk about Islamic belief. Islamic theology is pretty simple. Islam is a universal religion that's open to everyone. It promises salvation to all those who believe and follow the rules, which are pretty easy to understand. During this time period, Islam appealed to women because they had equal status to men before God. They could keep their dowries as wives, and there was a prohibition on female infanticide, which is killing female babies. Like Christianity, Islam appealed to the poor and the powerless, and it gave the community a sense of brotherhood. Essential Islamic theology includes the belief in one God, that Muhammad is God's prophet, and dedication to the 5 pillars. And let's talk about what those 5 pillars are. The 5 pillars, Islam is based on 5 duties called the pillars that define the faith. And these are the Shahadah, which is the statement of faith. There is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. The Salat, which is prayer. You have to pray 5 times a day facing Mecca. The Psalm are giving alms or charity to the poor. Oh, I'm sorry. I messed it up. I'm sorry. The Psalm is fasting. Number 3 is fasting. And that is you fast during the holy month of Ramadan. The Zakat is giving alms or charity to the poor, or giving a share of your personal wealth to help people in need and support the Muslim community. And then there's the Hajj, which is the pilgrimage to Mecca during one's lifetime, if you are able. The Zakat tax was much higher for non-believers, and this was an economic factor that led many to convert to Islam. Islam spread through 2 main avenues, which was military conquest and trade and missionary activity. Through military conquest and political influence, the religion spread because of its tolerance for other beliefs. People were rarely forced to convert, but they did convert, because, like I said, because the Zakat was higher for non-believers. Trade and missionary activity spread the religion because of the simple message of what to do and what not to do. Lower class individuals welcomed their inclusion as spiritual equals, as well as Islam's emphasis on charity. And they also legitimized the role of merchants. Now, the Sufis were the most active missionaries after 900, and they spread Islam to Southern Europe, Sub-Saharan Africa, Central Asia, India, Southeast Asia, etc. In Sub-Saharan Africa, merchants introduced Islam to the ruling class. So, That's how Islam was spread. Now let's talk about jihad, this idea of jihad. The concept of jihad, or the struggle for the faith, inspired Muslim armies to conquer the lands of non-believers in Southwest Asia and across North Africa. But not all Muslims shared this aggressive view of jihad. Instead, they considered jihad to be an inward struggle for faith. And this is something that the Muslim community still struggles with today. There are many different views of jihad, and our concept of terrorism has been influenced by jihad, but most Muslims out there do not believe that jihad is an active, aggressive military campaign. They believe it's an inward struggle. I've already talked about the spread of Islam. So, after Muhammad's death, by the time of Muhammad's death, almost all of Arabia was under Islamic control, and there was a disagreement over his successor. One group of Islam is called the Shia, believed that the leader should be a descendant of Muhammad. The other group, the Sunni, preferred it to be the wisest member of the strongest tribe. Because none of Muhammad's sons survived into adulthood, direct heredity of succession was never an option. So the Shia, their option was never really considered. Therefore, Muhammad's father-in-law, Abu Bakr, was made the first caliph, and caliphs were both political and religious leaders. So the split between the Shia and the Sunni Muslims led to religious and political divisions in the Muslim world that still endure today. And this infographic right here will help you understand that. The Prophet Muhammad died. There was no such thing as Shia and Sunni during the Prophet's rise. Both sects agreed that Muhammad was the last prophet of Islam, but while the Shia believe only the descendants of the Prophet can rule, the Sunni believe any qualified Islamic ruler can take over. So the Sunnis have been in control ever since Muhammad died, and this has been a problem because the Shias have been they've been heavily discriminated against throughout time. So we're about to start talking about the caliphates in the next video.